Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to start the process of working on another American flag. So for this one, it's going to be the burned wood flag. I am going to do a thin blue line on it. I'm using edge glued pine. So to explain to you what edge glued pine is, it comes like this. It actually comes wrapped in plastic. It's if you can see here, it is small. It's not super small strips, but it's strips of pine and it's been glued together. It does not mean the surface is a laminated surface. It just means that pieces were glued together. This is the purpose of this, is that it is a very level, very even, smooth piece of wood. It's perfect for what I want to do. It's not gonna, even though it's glued, it's it's factory glued, it's not gonna break apart. So you're not gonna have warped wood. You can go and buy like standard pine, like your 1x6s or 12s or whatever. You're gonna get chips, you're gonna get warps. So essentially, yes, they use the real pieces, they manufactured it together to give you a super level, smooth, not warped piece. They wrapped it up in plastic for you, whatever. This is 3 feet wide. And again, since I have a very good factory edge on it, I want this to be a 3-foot flag. Which means my union is 40% of the flag. So if you do the math, that comes out to 14.5 inches. And I actually have stencils that are, this one is just under 15. So extremely close to exactly where I need. So then if you're going to measure the height of the whole thing, 10.5 inches. So this union size, if it's going to be 15, it's going to be 10.5. I'm probably oversharing with you guys, but if you want to make one of these, I'm kind of giving you some of the info. So 10.5 inches, of course, 7 of your strips are going to equal the same as the union. Your union goes down 7 stripes. So if you divide 10.5 by 7, you get 1.5. So what I need to do, very first step, I know I just explained a lot there. If you follow it, it's because I'm trying to lay it out for you, is I need to cut this into 1.5 inch strips, the same length I've got now, and I'm going to get 13 of them because, of course, there are 13 stripes. Something I did not factor is doing 1.5 inch stripes equals more than 16 inches wide, which is how wide this board is. So I got 9 strips for the stripes altogether. So I need 4 more. So we're going to use the second board, so we need 4 more of these. Alright guys, so as always, kind of sharing some of the quirks or some of the mishaps I have with you. Maybe not every single one, but a lot of them. So using old equipment. So I'm using this old bench saw. That's what I have for now. I don't have a newer table saw. And I'm cutting those pieces to 1.5 inches. And I get done with that board and I'm like, I should have been able to get more out of it. Maybe not all 13 stripes, but more. Well, this handle is broken off. I used pliers to tighten it. I tightened it by hand this time. Wasn't paying attention, wasn't watching what I'm doing. Next thing I know, when I get to the end, I'm cutting 2 inch wide strips. So I had to grab a new board. I mean, I got through it. Luckily, I have a couple of those boards. So I had to grab a new board. I started over with it. And then some of the strips that were from the first one I used that were like 2 inches wide, I was extremely careful in cutting them. Now, pieces that had already been cut, my lines are not perfect. You can see an imperfection right there. But if this was a brand new board, so I did as good as I can. See how these are joining up very nicely. So here's a little tip for you. I'll move on from that and say, yeah, I had a little mishap, but I mean, we're going to recover and it's going to be fine in the end. So you see on the sides, you cut them, and as you cut them, you number them and you lay them down. And that way, you know exactly which ones are supposed to go together. That's another tip to keep your joints nice. So anyways, our thin blue line, that's going to be our 8th stripe down. That's going to be just after the union. So what I'm going to do now, I went back and forth on burn it first or paint it. I'm going to spray it first and then I'm going to try to burn it, and we're going to see what effect it's going to give. I genuinely don't know. So that's going to be our 8th stripe, sorry. So let's go from here. I'm gonna come on over to the other side just so I can cross grain, get sprays into the wood, not all from just one angle. So we're gonna leave that for a couple minutes and just see how that turns out. Okay, so at this point, I've got my blue stripe drying, spray painted. Next up, I have taken my stencil for my union, took my my first 7 stripes, and held them together, of course, with the clamp. And I have taped the edge here so that I can see where my edge is. I'm gonna use this wood chisel. I want to create a nice hard line right along the line there so that there's distinguished difference between the union and the stripes. I'm sorry. Alright, now I used my duct tape there to just give me a nice solid line along with that, because obviously my torch is not going to care where that line is. That's more for visual. So I wanted to keep it separate with that duct tape, but then on top of that I'm going to throw this heat, heat protected, like what do you call it, duct work, like your HVAC duct tape, because this aluminum tape here, regular duct tape, I believe, still can catch fire. This stuff I think is a lot less likely, this aluminum tape, but I didn't think it would hold that line as well as the duct would. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm just using this because now, of course, this is my union and I need to burn that. Alright guys, have I got a lesson I've learned for you. Do not use a propane handheld torch in the way I'm using it in this video right now. I learned that not only is it not going to work, potentially it's unsafe. So, see all that writing on the torch? Yeah, I didn't read any of it. It seems self-explanatory to me. You light the fire, the flame goes, you touch the wood, you burn it. Well, you're not supposed to turn these upside down, or really even sideways. And you see I am angled downward. I didn't really think about how propane works, but it's yeah, definitely don't do what I'm doing there either. I didn't think about it, but it is a liquid, and then it's a gas, and so most of that container is going to be a liquid propane inside and gas on the top. That's why they need to sit upright. So I'm not getting a true torch. Right now I'm just getting a fire on it, and that's not hot enough to scorch this wood. So that's my problem with the application of what I'm doing. Now, there are safety valves that actually, these are usually going to shut off and stuff, but there could potentially be a very serious safety hazard if that flame were to somehow get through the valve and get inside the tank. I'm guessing on that part, but it kind of seems logical when I think through it. So hold them upright. You're going to see me do that here in a minute once I have finally looked it up on YouTube and realized I was doing it wrong. You see the difference in the little flame I had coming out before when it was tilted downward and the actual torch it is now? And you see how it's just scorching the surface of it. And of course I've got that one circle up there near the knot where I was actually burning the wood because I was leaving that flame on it for so long till it would just catch fire versus a scorching of, which is what we want. So I was doing everything wrong, didn't even realize it. I was thinking, okay, I might have a faulty torch or valve or something. But no, it was me. Like, it seemed straightforward. I never even thought about it, that they would have to stay upright. Once I actually looked into things and did some research, it was a huge difference maker, and this is obviously going much, much better at this time. I just want to reiterate that not only does it not work if you're laying your wood down on like your table or whatever and you're trying to use your torch downward, it doesn't work, but it could be a very serious safety hazard. We can all use our imagination and imagine where that might end up using the tool the improper way. So read your instructions, especially with gases and compressed tanks and all that good stuff. So learn from me. Do better than I did. Okay guys, so I had water beside me, spray bottle water throughout this burn. I had my garage door open to ventilate the room, and of course I was being very careful. I've sprayed these down. Even though I've been sitting here for a few minutes, everything is cool to the touch. There's no reason to think these should do anything. Alright guys, so there is a little bit of bowing going on. I have read with wood glued pine and other wood glue woods that there is a little bit of that issue going on when you burn them. So I'm obviously going to put boards on top of it, and I'm going to clamp it together, and I'm going to hope that that goes away. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased with where we're sitting. So of course at this point it's pretty obvious what we do next. I glue this thing together, clamp it together. I built this frame a while back because I knew I was going to make a lot of American flags, and as you've seen me do other videos, I've made them with other types of material, and so that's very helpful to have the wall, that L bracket to seat it in. So let's go. I used a laminated, I think this sheet is like for a shelf or something. I use that on purpose. It is a particle board, but it's laminated, and that's because glue, like, see, definitely glue is going to sit down there. This is going to glue to that board when I'm done. It'll be fairly easy to pull off though because of the laminate, and I will end up using like a drywall mudding scraper. I can't even think of what it's called right now. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about, to just peel it off gently and scrape all that glue up and separate it. I will say spray painting this blue line worked out pretty good, I think. I didn't know how that was going to work, but I'm happy with it. And if you remember, as you know, it actually, what looks a little faded is from the burning on it yesterday. I would have liked to have been able to get a little bit of just a tiny bit of like faded char through that blue, but it didn't really show up. I'd be curious to know if it would show up if I charred it first and then spray painted it or not, or if the spray paint would have just covered it right over. So I already had a little bit of glue seeping. You know, I want to minimize that, so I'm just going to wipe off what's already there. I haven't even squeezed these together yet, and perhaps that's something I should do. I've really clamped them down in the past as tight as I could. Maybe I shouldn't be tightening it so much to be able to keep the boards level. Do you guys enjoy looking at your handiwork? If you're craftsmen or DIYers or handy people or like to mess around like me, do you enjoy just like looking like, this isn't perfect of course, but I'm pleased with how it looks so far. I'm about to cover it up and I'm like, oh, I just want to keep checking it out, like keep enjoying, you know, my accomplishment. You know what I really need? I just thought of it. I just need some plates, like some weight plates. I should buy a few of those just for this exact reason, just to do these projects like this. I could put the weights on them. I don't have any. Just got my kettlebell. It's a small one, but those plated weights, those weight plates would be really beneficial right about now. Okay, like I said, I didn't try to tighten it as tight as I have in the past. I mean, it's tight. They're on there, but in the past I've just really clamped them down, and maybe I'm doing too much then. It doesn't need to be clamped that tight. Like the wood glue is going to hold when it holds over, you know, you leave it on for 12 hours or whatever. Trying to get plenty of weight on this thing, but spread it out all over the place. Alright, so we have left all this weight on here for a full day. Because the glue obviously falls downward. Just needs a little bit of coercion to pry it off sometimes. I want to really tape this down as flat as I can. And I want to really be cautious for overspray. This part's kind of scary because I'm always afraid I'm going to mess it up and mess up my flag, which is going well. And I'm just going to use any old random paint because it doesn't really matter. The paint right now is a guide for my dremeling and my chiseling. What I'm going to use is actually like a temporary peelable coating just because I have like part of a spray can left of this. No other particular reason. And it's green, it's not white, but like I said, this is just for a guide. So here we go. And hopefully with this being a peelable paint, I can peel it off of the wood. Alright, I am leaving that. I am not budging it. I'm not messing with it. So I'll leave this and walk away. I'll get back with you guys. Let's see what we have here. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with the spraying of the stars. Like, I don't have a bunch of, like, it's a nice clean spray, so I should be able to Dremel it and chisel it. I do have a little excess here, and I do think I'll be able to rub that off. Actually, I just used this, like, whatever this was called, this temporary paint, because there wasn't much left in the can. It's just some old can I had that I was playing around with my rims years ago. But I think it might have been a good method. Let's call it a pro tip today. Use temporary paint, because then you can rub it off where you don't like it. Yeah. So I haven't done this yet. Let's just see how this... At the very least, I can use this chisel to make nice crisp lines that will guide me with my Dremel. I do kind of want to use this chisel to actually get them out though. So now that I've edged one just to play around, I think I like that. I did not use, I've done one of these flags. If you haven't seen that video, I'd encourage you to go check it out. It was my first time in the process. I Dremeled and I just used the Dremel hand tool. I did not chisel to like give me the straight lines, but I think I like doing it this way better. And I also want to point out this little tip to you. If you don't, have a Dremel tool or don't have the money to spend on one, and then the extension, this chisel set, I believe I got this chisel set from Harbor Freight for like $7 or $8. So you can make these flags. You can make your union in the stars, which is definitely going to be the hardest part. It always is, without a Dremel. Okay, so using this chisel set is definitely a labor intensive job. It's probably going to take longer than Dremel, and it's going to be a little more work than the Dremel. My arms were pretty worn out by the time I was done with this. I found what was best for me was to do 10 of them and then take a little break, come back to it a little bit later. I also found that it was easier and the stars looked better if I didn't try to chisel too deeply into the wood. The ones that were a little bit more shallow and just taking the surface level off look a lot better than the ones where I chiseled down a lot farther and deeper. I also purchased a wood carving kit, which was like $7, $8, and I used one or two pieces from that that had a real sharp edge to help me clean up my stars a little. And if you see on the table there, or on top of the flag, I have a black Sharpie. You know, an old saying is that it's not about how good of a carpenter you are, it's about how good you can hide your mistakes. Every once in a while, that chisel would just take a chunk out of the charred edge surface that's outside the star. And you know, it's okay to just use that Sharpie when we're talking about just like one tiny little spot and just paint it in, cover it in. You never see it, you never know. You're not going to throw away the whole flag because of one little mix-up. So there you go. So one problem I did encounter is a knot, and it chipped out stuff there, and I tried to just, you know, clean it up. It didn't work too good, so we're going to try something here. We're going to try to just very lightly get that with a torch, and then we'll see if I can just clean it up with the wood carving tools. Sorry, I'm focused on what I'm doing and not even you guys. Okay. Of course, you can see that knot and how it's kind of burning there on the surface. All right. I'm now just going to try to get the char off of the surface in the star shape, even though that is indented in because the knot kind of tore out. My goal is just to use this, which is even sharper than the chisel, and make do with this one knot. It's not an ideal situation. It's not what I want to be happening, but and I actually have a piece of the knot I stuck in my pocket. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see if it goes back in, and definitely making do and doing the best we can with this one. It's not going to be perfect. That's how it's going to have to be. You guys have it upside down. That's going to be our best bet for this thing. Perhaps a little bit more wood glue. So that was unfortunate. You know, like I said, I hit a knot with the chisel and it just popped right out. So I did one coat of polyurethane, which seems to be just my weapon of choice lately. I feel like I'm polyurethaning everything, but I really think it gives a good finish and protects wood products pretty well. So I've done one coat, let it dry about an hour. I'm gonna do one more at least. But you know, I just want to compare here. I've got a picture from, this is straight from my YouTube video of my first flag, which was the wooden gun case box. I'm actually planning on making another one of those very, very soon. But just by comparison, we go from that to that. It is still a work in progress. You know, that's part of my journey, is growth. But I think we see growth here. I think this is definitely an improvement, and time will tell what the next comes out like. You watched me with that knot that popped out. Maybe you can find it, maybe you can't. I think you can find it on the video here where we're at right now. But you know, I think we fixed it up all right. I will zoom in just so that you see it for full on purposes. Yeah, we did what we could. It's okay. It's not perfect. I don't try to hide from you guys. I don't try to claim everything's perfect. But like, you know, we're standing at a normal distance right now, and I think it looks pretty good. So there you have it. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.